Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing the monthly video that I always do every month because months seem to be passing by without my knowledge. Like, I cannot believe that October is now. What do you mean? That's really scary, and I actually don't like to think about time, so let's not. This is going to be everything that I read in the month of September. So I read 8 books in September, which is pretty good. I had a really good reading month. I have some 5 stars. Let's just get into it. Let's start off with the first book that I read. The first book that I read in the month of September was Daisy Haites by Jessa Hastings. This is the second book in the Magnolia Parks universe. I loved this book so much. I gave this book a 5 stars. I love this book, like, with my entire heart. Like, I am such a Daisy Haites girly. Like, there's either like Magnolia Parks girly or a Daisy Haites girly, like who you prefer in this series. And I am a Daisy Haites all the way. I loved this story so much more than Magnolia Parks. I really enjoyed Magnolia Parks, but like this one, I loved everything about it. Like, I loved the connection that the two main characters had. So this book follows Daisy and Christian, and if you've read the Magnolia Parks, like the first book, you've already been introduced to them, seen a little snippet of their relationship, but like it's so good. Like, if you do not continue to read Daisy Haites, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because you're missing out on the best couple. I, from the beginning of Magnolia Parks, knew Christian would be my man. Christian is top tier, like the best man in this universe. These books are not like fluffy, cute romances. They are toxic romances, everyone. So like, if you read this, just know you're getting into some toxic relationships that like you shouldn't admire to have. It's very entertaining to read about, I will say. Daisy and Christian have a lot in common because they both come from a family that like sort of deals with like the mafia or deals with some sort of underground system going on like that. They both are in it. They both are born into that sort of family obligation. I love strong female characters in stories, and Daisy stands up for herself and knows what she wants. And Christian, as I said, loved him for Magnolia Parks. Like, I could not wait to get to this book, and he delivered. He delivered. Like, does he have some toxic traits and bad behavior? Yes. Am I ignoring the red flags? Yes, because I am into it. I'm into him. I'm into it. Justice for Christian. I know he does some bad behavior, but stop. I love him. So good. So good. That's all I want to say. And the way that this book ended sent me into a crazy spiral. I cried. I need the other books, but the fact that I have to read Magnolia Parks, I'm sorry, but the fact that I have to read Magnolia Parks before I get into the second book of Daisy Haites is illegal. I haven't moved on. I have not moved on from the ending of this book, and I just want to say that. Anyways, 5 stars. I've talked about it for a long time. I love it so much. Please go read it. And the next book I picked up was Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, which was a Sarah Caroli recommendation because she raves about this book, and I saw so much on Book Talk and Booktube about it, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna read it because I'm getting into my fantasy era. And boy did I read it, and boy did I feel a lot while I read it, because I gave this book 5 stars as well. In the reading vlog I did for this, like, I had this in a video, I think I gave it a 4.75 rating, but I have not stopped thinking about this book, so I'm giving it a 5 stars. I loved it. If you are a beginner of fantasy, which like is literally me, I'm not an expert on fantasy, I'll tell you that. If you are trying to get into it and trying to weed your way through fantasy from being a romance reader, this is the perfect fantasy for you. The world building in this is like not hard at all. You obviously learn about the gods and goddesses and like all of this stuff to like understand, but it really focuses on the characters and the characters' connection a lot. This book mainly focuses on war, which obviously deals with sort of the fantasy realm of how the war started and all of that stuff, but it's literally not difficult at all. Like, I promise you, if you are looking for a fantasy romance and you're trying to get into fantasy, this is the book for you. I really loved both the characters. Iris was a very independent character. Rowan was the perfect male main character of the story, and I really liked the connection that they two had because they were enemies, sort of, because they were both trying to get the same sort of job position at a newspaper. Just saw the way their connection slowly got built up, and Rowan as a male main character literally makes me feral. He makes me insane, because what do you mean he did all of that for her? He did so much for her, gave up so much for her just to show how much he cared about her. This book literally made me not okay. Like, I cried. That's illegal. That's illegal. Jail, jail, jail. You need jail, because what do you mean? This book is so good. The connection that the characters had was amazing, and the plot, some of it was a little bit slow, I feel like, but like not slow enough for me to like take any points off of the rating of this book. Immediately made it a 5-star because I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I immediately pre-ordered the book coming out in December, the second book. I immediately pre-ordered it, so I am going to have the second book in my hands, and I will be reading that immediately as it's on my doorstep. I'll already have it ripped open because I need the next book. There's this one. Love it. 5 stars. Please go read it, especially in the fall time because it's a fantasy. Then I ended up picking up a new release, which is Things We Left Behind by Lucy Score. This is the third and final book in the Knock 'Em Out series. I love this series and I was really sad to see it end, but I was super excited for this couple. This book follows Lucien and Salone, who is a couple I have been waiting for since the first book because we saw little snippets of them and the tension and the angst and just the backstory that they had I knew was going to be so good, and this book was so good. I ended up giving it a 4.25. It was my favorite in the series. Like, it was so good. I didn't really want Lucien and Salone to figure out their issues for halfway through the book. Like, I wanted this slow burn. I wanted the tension. I wanted to know the backstory, know what was happening, and I wanted that tension throughout most of the book because a slow burn is my favorite. I really liked Salone and Lucien. They had a lot of tension, but also the way that they both cared for each other in very subtle ways was really cute. I really like that when characters will like do little things for each other and then they'll just keep building up and building up and building up, and then the other character will be like, you did all that for me? And they're like, yeah, of course I do that for you. Like, ugh. I love it. I love it. And Lucien was such a good male main character in the story. He did say one thing that really pissed me off, but after that he was like so good. Characters like him like really like send me feral because he's very mysterious. He very much like no funny business, but literally such a softie for the female main character. Everyone can see it but them, which I think is so funny. Sloane knew what she deserved in a relationship, and I love that for her. So I gave this book a 4.25. Would recommend reading this series. Childhood best friends, 2 enemies, 2 lovers. And that's a good trope. Then I ended up reading a series that was very high on my fall TBR, which was a Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Very popular on BookTok and BookTube, so let's just get into my thoughts. The first book is The Naturals. All these books follow the same people. We're in Cassie's point of view, and it follows her journey through the Naturals program, and the Naturals program is basically teenagers who have special abilities that can help the FBI with cases, cold cases, and just anything like that. So there's profilers, there's people who can detect emotions, very good with numbers, lies, all of that. So we have this group of 5 teenagers that basically just help the FBI. It's a YA mystery series, so a lot of people can read it. I really enjoyed this book. I gave this book a 3 stars. It was a very good introduction book, and I really liked the journey that we saw Cassie go on in trying to fit into this sort of family situation within the Naturals program and just find herself and grow comfortable and had that sort of found family bond. I really liked that as well. I love found family, and I liked the plot of this one a lot. The plot twist was very shocking in this one. I really liked it. 3 stars. Then we moved on to Killer Instinct, which is the second book, and this one I absolutely loved. I never wanted to put this book down, and these books are very fast reads. The plot of this one was so crazy. This one deals with a person in the Naturals program that from the first book I was like, you intrigue me. I want to know more about you. And this book delivered because this book followed their life and who they were and what happened in their past that made them who they are right now and how it still affects them. I was very intrigued in this story. I gave this one a 4 stars. This one was delivering on the mystery. I was like, so I really enjoyed this one. So good. And we moved on to the third one, All In, and this one wasn't my favorite in the series. I gave this one a 3.25. I really didn't enjoy the plot too much. I thought this one was a little slow for me. I just wasn't as intrigued in the plot twist or like what we figured out happened. But I will say I enjoyed this book because we did see more of another character that I felt like fell into the background a little bit. I really liked learning about that character and their upbringing as to why they ended up being in the Naturals program and how that played into the case as well. Also, I will say this book was good in the fact that it set up for the last book so well. The way this book ended made me immediately want to pick up the next book because it shocked me into next week. The ending of this book really was insane. Like, I was like, how are you gonna do that? Like, I need to pick up the next book immediately. And that's exactly what I did. So this one was a 3.25, a little slow for me, but I still enjoyed the series nonetheless. The last book is Bad Blood, which is very thick, and I ate it up. This book has bad blood in it, and then it also has a novella 12 is what it's called. So that's fun. But this book was the best one in the series. I will say that. This book was so amazing. The plot of this one had me the entire way. Like, I literally never wanted to put this book down. I ended up crying at this YA mystery. What do you mean I was crying? Tear fell out of my eyeballs because of what was happening at the end of this book. What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm very easy to make cry in books. Like, I really am. In a book, I will cry over anything. Like, if it's any bit emotional, a tear will threaten to come out of my eyeball. But this one, I didn't expect to cry. Something happened with the main character, Cassie, and I was like, there's no way. Like, there's no way that just happened. I don't even know how to describe it. I just need you guys to read it. This series is so worth it purely for this book alone, and I'm dead serious. This book was the best one. I gave this one a 4.25. I enjoyed every second of it. Even if I didn't enjoy every second of it, I forgot about it because how good the ending is and how crazy the plot was. And it went through a lot of what Cassie went through in her like young life. We grow to love Cassie throughout this series because we're in her perspective. We're seeing her and her emotions and like what she's going through. And you just care about Cassie so much and the rest of the people in the Naturals program that like what happens in this book is insane. So 4.25, please read this series. You will not regret it. And then lastly, I read Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. I don't know. Why do I always forget? I don't know. I think I have a fall reading vlog coming out and this book is in it. I gave this book a 3.75. I enjoyed this book a lot. I really liked this book, but I feel like I enjoyed the characters more than I enjoyed the overall plot. I felt like there was just a couple slow parts in this plot where I was like, okay. The ending and the characters made up for it. This story follows Evie and she ends up needing a job. She finds this villain who is very much not liked by her town, literally called the villain. Hello. And she runs into him and he's like, you need a job? Be my assistant. And she ends up being his assistant, but she also like is low-key in love with him because the villain's hot. Like, hello. Okay. Evie was such a good character. I loved her so much. The villain, you saw so much of him. Like, he was like such a complex character, and the way that Evie and him just like bantered back and forth, the way that Evie saw more of him than what he wanted her to was so good. Like, that dynamic of like him trying to be closed off and her like slowly making her way to like being something he really cares about. Love it. But also the side characters in the story. Blade, I loved. He was one of the best characters. I thought he was so funny, and you just see that he was starting to have a romance with someone else. And I hope that because this book is going to be a series and I will be reading the rest of them, I hope that becomes something, because I can just see that sort of tension between the two of them, and I really hope it becomes something. I loved the characters, and also sort of twist in this book had me shocked. Like, I was really shocked at the twist. I did not expect it. I did not see it coming at all. I literally couldn't have guessed it if you put a gun to my head. I would not have been able to guess it. I would recommend this. This is like a fantasy rom-com, so, and the fantasy of it is literally not hard at all. It's sort of a fairy tale fantasy. Like, it deals with like ogres, dragons, knights, kings, all of that stuff. There's an ogre in here, and I did picture Shrek. So that's just me. People who read this, I'm sure you thought it was Shrek as well. And if you didn't, maybe I am alone. I don't know. I enjoyed it. Many lines and many like inner dialogues of the two characters that I was like, you guys are adorable. I love you guys. So these are all the 8 books that I read in the month of September. I had a really good reading month. Like, I had 2 5 stars, a couple 4 stars. Like, it was pretty good. I really enjoyed my reading this month. That is the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you did, please give this video a thumbs up and comment down below. And subscribe if you want to see more of my face. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!